Enjoy 24, episode 79. Today I had the pleasure of having John Scafiddi on the podcast. He's the founder of At War Worldwide clothing brand and co-host on the Journey podcast. Great talk, inspiring dude, one of the coolest dudes I've ever talked to. Enjoy. We're ready. We're set to go, man. We're set to go.
Yes, sir.
Man, I had no
Yes,
idea
sir.
you were in New York, bro.
Oh, yeah, my bad. And you're in Vancouver, right? Which I didn't realize is the other end of Canada. So the time difference is California time, really.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
I
Didn't
thought,
realize that. Yeah.
yeah, I thought you guys were in Cali or something. That's why I was.
No. I go back and forth there all the time, and I'm based out of New York.
Okay, cool, man. Down to talk about a lot of things, man, because it's tough out here, man.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, even being a man in like what we do, just as far as being creative and being on a pod and just like putting your art, quote unquote, out there for people to see, for everybody to see. It comes with a lot of scrutiny, but it also comes with like a lot of self-scrutiny, and it'll just come with just eyes on you, whether they're good eyes or they're bad eyes. It's just more eyes on you at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to kind of withstand that a little bit.
All of it, yeah. It's just you're
Yeah.
signing up for it, you know. It's
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. We talk about that on the pod all the time. It's like we complain sometimes about, just like little things that are really in the grand scheme of things, I guess, like gifts, and the one thing that we always come back to is like, well, we chose this route. It's not like we weren't given it an option. It's not like we could have just didn't have any other options to go get a regular 9 to 5 or go do this or go do that. Like, so every time we complain about something, we always end the conversation with, but we chose to do this.
mm.
So,
Would you say like we're built different, man? Like people that go through this path, doing the creative thing, putting yourself out there, making videos, podcasting, all that. Like I feel like a lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of people think about it, they just don't have the courage to actually going out and do it. I don't know what it is, but
sure.
it's just kind of who
Yeah.
we are. I don't know.
I think there's for lack of a better term, there's two different paths that you could go in life. You can go like that normal, regular life that was kind of sold to you on TV throughout your entire life, or it was like you go to school, you graduate school, you go to high school, you graduate. Then from there, you go to college, you go away for 4 years, you graduate, you kind of learn a little bit about yourself. You come home, maybe you met a girl out there, or you had a high school sweetheart. You get a career, you get a job, you get married by 30, you own a house, white picket fence, you have kids, and yada yada yada. And that's kind of like that normal, at least where we're from, like where I'm from, like that American dream type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Yeah.
Uh, and then you have the other route, which was, me. I didn't graduate college and no high school sweetheart, and I just didn't get a degree just to go get a job and have that stability. So I do think that we're built different in that sense because in the route that we chose, there's no guarantee in anything, but
There's
at
no
least
game.
if you have like a nine to
Hmm.
five or whatever it is, you maybe have retirement, you got a 401k, or you're setting yourself up. Whereas like I'm putting all my eggs in one basket right now and hoping to reap the benefits. There's no guarantee that I'm going to reap the benefits at some point in life. I'm just going through life right now a little bit different than like let's say my friends are. Like I got two best friends that are about to get married this year and all graduated college and have like pretty much regular jobs. Like that's not to knock them, but they have like the regular job, 9 to 5, sanitation,
Hmm.
lawyer, doctor, whatever the case may be. Like I don't have that. So there's definitely two separate routes. And I'm sure there's other routes, but the main two separate routes is that normal route, and then there's a route that we chose. And the route that we chose, you have to be built different to do this route because more than likely nobody's teaching you how to do it. There's no
Yeah.
school, there's no course to go and we learn by doing it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of paying tuition, we're paying business costs, and I'm losing here or I'm losing there. Like
Hmm.
that's my tuition. That's how I'm learning. I'm not learning. There's no blueprint for this shit.
I hear
Kind
you.
of got to learn as you go. That is going to take a lot of mental fortitude for sure.
100%, because it's not. There's nothing wrong with having that white picket fence life, having a 9 to 5, a
Oh,
stable career, all that. Like that's also a thing, man. With I don't know, just expectations guys have to deal with now. It's like if you're not doing things outside of that, it's like what are you doing? It's like it's fine if you want to have that 9 to 5, that simple life, right? But would you say you wouldn't even be able to do that 9 to 5 life and that basic American dream life, even if you wanted to at this point, because you're also so far deep into into your business, into your
yeah.
podcasting, into creating that even if one day you said I'm done with this, I can't handle it anymore, the self scrutiny, the criticism that I put on myself is just weighing on me too much, you wouldn't even be able to transition into that sort of lifestyle
No.
anymore. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I don't
You're
think
too
so.
far
No,
gone,
I
you
don't.
know?
I agree with you. I agree with you because number one, I never had it, right? So that's besides the point. Like I've never ever done that. Like even when, like my story goes like a little bit like this. We graduated high school. I went to college for a year. I dropped out because I wanted to be a professional fighter. I wound up blowing my knee out that same year again, the second time, same knee, and just like never went back to school. So I just hopped into the restaurant industry like kind of right away.
Mm,
And that was the closest sense maybe that I had to like a normal life. But even working in the restaurant is not a normal life as far as hours and just type of job that it is. So sometimes I miss that. Like I sometimes I do miss and crave that normal waking up, going to work, being on my feet for 12 hours a day, not having to think about anything, and just like dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. But like if I were to wake up one day and think to myself, or even if God forbid, like the business just wasn't doing what it was supposed to, and like I couldn't do this shit anymore, I don't know if I could actually physically transform myself into this normal 9 to 5 type of person. I don't even know what type of job that would even look like. I don't even know. Like I've never ever seen that before. Like I've
right.
never ever done that before. And then I lost. And then when COVID hit, I lost my job. I wasn't working in the restaurant no more. I had the brand, but the brand wasn't really anything at that point. It was still a hobby. It was
Mm,
still like kind of selling stuff out of the trunk of the car and just like trying to figure it out. And when COVID hit, lost a job, back up against the wall, the government was giving us money to stay home to help pay the bills. I'm like, yo, it's the only opportunity I have right now to maybe like put all my eggs into this one basket that I had been doing for 6 years.
for sure.
Right. So
Yeah.
like how much longer am I going to do this shit? And is it going to work or is it not going to work? If it's going to work, it's going to work right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So COVID
That
was
was kind of work.
COVID was a bit of a blessing because it would push you like, okay, this is it. I need to go for
Yeah.
this now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
lost the
100%.
job, now the brand has to explode. You have to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate like because I tell people that all the time, and I always preface like, "Yo, COVID changed a lot of people's lives for in the worst way, and a lot of people died, and it wasn't a good time to just be alive in the fucking world."
Hmm.
But on the flip side to that, it definitely changed my life in a positive way because the way that my shit worked out is like I had just moved out on my own that year, a month before COVID hit, so I was on my own, which was good in a sense because I was finally had the freedom. But then it was like, oh shit, I got real people bills, and now I just lost my job. So it's
Hmm.
like, now what are we going to do here? And it kind of pushed me again. It pushed me off the ledge, off of a ledge that I probably would have never jumped off of myself. I don't see myself ever have been like taking that leap to quit the restaurant industry
Right.
on my own. Needed some sort of push, and COVID just so happened to be that push, and I am thankful for it for sure.
Yeah, it was a blessing for sure.
Yeah,
And
100%.
bro, like I want to bring this up because it's a subtle flex, but on the
Yeah.
pod, one of your pods, you said that you generated $500,000 in your brand, which
Oh
is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
insane, man, which is crazy. And
yeah.
it's one of those things, man, like that text I sent you about that episode, listening to that. For me, man, it's gone to the point where, you hear about what it means to be like a high value man and what it is to what it takes to survive in our society. It's expensive, man. Like where we
Oh
live,
yeah,
New York, Vancouver,
yeah,
the economy's fucked, right? With inflation and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It You need to make money, right? Like you need to have that financial stability to survive. It's crazy to me, man, that after even all your success in your brand and continuing to grow it and do all that, you still have so many things that you still go through. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times,
Oh
man,
yeah.
like it's a stupid perspective, but because I know it's not true, but a lot of times I'm always thinking, well, people that make a lot of money, people that are thriving in their business or whatever they're doing, it won't matter what's going on in the external, whether it's relationships, um, you know, health. Of course, health is a big thing, but like everything that's happening externally, it won't matter because you have that money, you have that financial stability. It's a very shallow way of thinking, but it's hard for me when millionaires say, "Oh, I'm they're going through a lot of things," or people that are doing
Yeah.
well. I'm always like, "Well, you got a lot of money, man. Like you're fine, right?" And it's really refreshing to hear. It's not refreshing because obviously you went through a lot of things, but it's refreshing to
Oh
hear that
yeah, I
you're
get
you're
it.
still human.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You're still feeling different
yeah,
things,
yeah, 100%.
right?
Yo, first of all, like just on like the monetary aspect of it, I didn't I didn't grow up around people that ran businesses. My family's blue collar, construction, city worker, yada yada. So off the rip, I didn't even learn how to run a business through anybody else. I learned how to run a business, myself, learning and taking losses and doing this and that. So, I say, excuse me, we did 500,000 in sales, during our best year. What it took to get to that point, the overhead and the money that had to be put up and reinvested back in, and what we didn't see. And yeah, not a lot of people even realize, bro, you're the owner of a business. Whatever the gross is, the owner himself probably will only pocket, not even pocket, but just for lack of a better word, 10% of that. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? After everything was all said and done, having to pay people, having the cost of goods, and doing this, that, and the third. So from the monetary aspect, and I didn't realize this either because I don't know anything about running a business until I
Right.
started to run one myself. Is that like you could bring in $1 million, and obviously you're not gonna touch anywhere, bro. Not for nothing. From 2020 until 2023, we did over $1 million in those 3 years, right? But
Sheesh.
you're never gonna you don't touch you're not gonna touch those seven figures. Of course, looking at that number and going to Shopify and like looking at the number and be like, oh shit, this is what we did over the course of time. What it took to get there, and then having to have that mental fortitude that we are just talking about to start this, to even get to that point. Because now it's always like, oh shit, I didn't even think that I could get to this point, and I know that it's really actually nothing.
Mm.
How the fuck do I get even way past that? And it's this type of stuff that'll keep you up at night if you're somebody that's in our business. Because it's like I want to just keep on going and going. When is anything ever going to be enough? What's ever going to be enough? Because like you said, as a man, and you want to be a high value man to everybody around you, not only even like women or your girl, to your family. You want to take care of people, and you want to just like be that person to your friends and your boys and shit like that. It comes with like heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like it sounds
Yeah.
like kind of like pompous to say out loud, but I don't mean it in a pompous way. I mean it like if you take the time and the energy to go be a leader in your life, regardless of what it is, because you're a man and like we all want to be this alpha fucking man and take care of our people and shit like that. That means you're the leader. That means you want to be number one. The stuff that comes with that, it's not for everybody.
It's
And
it's
that
too.
also goes with that 9 to 5 life at the end
Mhm.
of the day. Cause like who work 9 to 5s, for the most part, unless you're like a doctor or a lawyer, then you have your own practice, and then it's like a little bit different where you're the leader and you're the head. But if you just work a regular 9 to 5 life, and shout out to all those people, but like you're not number one, you're not the leader. Of course, maybe you come home and you pay the bills, but you're not like taking people on vacation, or you're not paying your mom's bills, or you're not doing X, Y, and Z. But when you go the route that we chose to go, and you want to be the leader and the boss, all those other things kind of just happen because
Right.
you're just trying to be that alpha high value man in this world where that's what men are supposed to be. And it's like it'll take a heavy toll on you, and like no dollar amount I feel like will ever be enough. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
a heavy toll, man. It's toxic. It
Yeah.
really is, man, because the matter of the fact is, no matter how much you make, there's always, there's always going to be someone making more. There's going to be someone getting more views and more streams and all that, right? And for me, man, it's just one of those things where I I I'm never satisfied, man. It really fucks with me because I'm like, okay, like what 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 is it, what could I be doing different right now? Where could I be with the podcast if I made the right moves every single time? And I know I'm not going to make the right moves every single time because that's not fucking realistic at all, right? And it just makes me think like, god damn it, man, like am I even like for this? Like am I even worth doing? And it's the thing I wanted to talk to you about, like imposter syndrome, man. Like it doesn't even matter. Like people can come up to me and be like, yo, you're doing well, I see you grinding, I see you, doing well with the
Yeah.
podcast, it's growing. For me, I hear it's great, thank you, I appreciate it a lot. But deep down, man, I just don't feel like I'm ever doing enough in anything, man. And
Yeah.
it's just that's where it gets, man, I think that's where it just gets toxic with like where we are as men in the society we live in, right? Like no, nothing can even, you gotta like bang out X, Y, and Z to be considered him. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no, and even after that, there's a new set of things that you have to check
Yeah,
off,
because you
right?
have to scale it. If you want to be him, okay, we get to that point. But like now I want to stay him, right?
Yeah.
So how the fuck do you stay him without chasing? I'm always looking for something to chase. I said this on, I don't know if it was that pub, but I said it on pub before. I'm always looking for something to chase, and that is very toxic. Looking for something to chase because at some point you kind of gotta like fall into yourself and understand like what's for me is gonna come to me, what I'm gonna do. Like I feel that all the time, bro. Like where I'm from, like I go to a gas station just to go pump gas. It happened to me last night, and I'm just waiting to pay to go pump gas. Some kid comes up to me, taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Oh shit, you're that at war kid, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yo, bro, nice to meet you." You know what I'm saying? And like then like that's it. But it's hard to
Like that
when like
that in
I was having
itself,
a bad day.
you
You
know,
know,
like
I was maybe I was having a bad day, and I didn't feel like confident enough in myself. And this kid comes up to me, and of course, it's nice and it's dope that you recognize me for that. But like where I'm at in my life right now, I'm kind of down a little bit. So like it's kind of this bittersweet thing where it's like, oh shit, this kid recognizes me. But in
mm,
my head, I'm not doing enough. But you recognize me, and now I want to kind of keep that and scale that. You know what I'm saying? It's hard.
right, right. I mean, yeah, man. I don't know. Like to me, like I see you and your brand and the podcast. You guys are thriving. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, yeah.
it's never. I mean, I'm not you. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you're thinking of. Where you want to be. Do you almost think sometimes like some men like even me and you like we need to take a step back and be like, yo, like we're good, man. Like we've done enough. We're doing enough, right? There's no competition here. There's no race. Like we're
Yeah,
all good, man. They just
yeah.
chill out a little. You know what I'm saying?
I think about 18-year-old me, bro. I think about young me. I think about young me and I try to think like what he would he think that I'd even be here? You know, like obviously we were chasing his dream at a really young age. And like of course in the back of my head at 18 years old, I thought that we would get to a point where this was my life and this was my career and yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, I just try to like look back and hope that I'm making that version of me proud. And that's the only person that like I'm in competition with because I'm just trying to prove something to that version of me.
Mm,
Not really trying to prove anything to like anybody else because it's in my world, like fashion comes first, like being a designer comes first, and the podcast comes second. So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about from a fashion sense. I'm not trying to be Kith. I'm not trying to be Ame Leon. I'm not trying to be any of these other brands. I'm not in competition with any of these other brands. Number one, they are so far ahead of the spectrum than I am that like it's something that it's a goal that I want to attain to be in the conversation with
right.
those people, but I'm not in competition with any of these designers that are out there because I don't look at myself as a regular designer. This is streetwear. This is a little bit different than like contemporary menswear and like high fashion and yada yada. So from that perspective, from a competition perspective, I'm not in competition with anybody just because I just want to be me. The only person that I'm in competition with is 18-year-old me who started this shit who thought that this was going to be something that I did, and now it's here, and it's something that I do for a living. But like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and it's like I heard Matthew McConaughey say it. He's like what did he say? He's like the person that I look up to is always 10 years ahead of me.
Mm,
Like when at 20 years old, 30-year-old me was somebody that was my person. I got to 30 and I wasn't that person that I wanted to be. So now it's 40. And now when I got to 40, it was like, who am I going to be at 50? And just to keep on chasing and keep on getting better while also looking back and knowing that like 20-year-old me probably didn't think that we would get this far. Even if he was dreaming of it, he probably didn't realistically think that this was going to be what I did for a living,
I hear you.
regardless of the ups and downs. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Bro, how do you so you made a really good point, man. How do you like you said, you listed off these high-end brands that are way past the spectrum and
Yeah.
they've made it they're on a different tier at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you keep that goal of wanting to get to that point but also not comparing yourself to them and thinking to yourself, damn, I'm not there, right? Like I look at a lot of podcasts, right? Like I look at Joe Rogan, I look at Bill Simmons, Lex Friedman, Chris D'Elia, um, who else? I mean, even someone
You know,
like Bobby.
Like Andrew Huberman, and I look at like Huberman and Jay Shetty and
Yeah,
shit like
even
that. You know what I'm
even
saying?
even the Nelk boys,
Gotcha.
even though the Nelk boys were a completely different thing, and then they started the podcast.
Yeah,
I want to achieve those things. I would love to get to that point, and I have that goal. But to me, I look at those guys sometimes, and I listen to their podcasts, and I watch them, and I'm comparing myself to them. Like, damn, I'm not there yet. Why? And it's okay that I'm not there, and that's what I'm striving for. But
yeah,
it just gets toxic when I start comparing to them and I'm telling myself, damn, why am I not there? Damn, I wish I
Yeah.
was. Right? Like because there's a fine line between seeing those people and your icons and people that you're striving to be like and wanting to set a goal to be like them. But then when you compare yourself to them, it's like, damn, like an up and coming
Yeah.
artist that wants to get into the rap game, they look at Drake, they're like, damn, I want to be like him someday. But then once you start comparing yourself to a guy like that, it's you're
It's
done.
impossible, yeah.
TKO.
Because it's more than likely you could have success, but it's more than likely that you'll never have like that amount of success, right? So like
Right.
how do you deal
And
with comparing to your idols?
even when you say more than likely you won't, that just it bothers me. I don't know. I've always been a guy that's bothered me when people are like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, you're never gonna get there. Oh, come on, man, be realistic." I hear you. I understand why people think like that, but it just it bothers me, man. I don't know why. I mean, we have one life to live, and we're gonna
Well,
die.
yeah,
So,
you have to have that self-belief. Like I had this conversation the other day, it kind of like a little bit off topic, but on the same idea. It was like when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather, and like everybody knew that Conor had no chance against Floyd Mayweather. The guy's the greatest boxer of all time. But I promise you, Conor walked in that ring and thought he had a chance. Like actually, like he didn't fake, like he thought he had a chance. You know what I'm saying? So you personally have to have that delusional self belief in yourself that you could get to this point. So when I say like most likely, it's just like from a grand scheme of everybody looking around, like more than likely nobody's gonna reach the height of the greatest rapper, you know, artists like of our generation. But you have to have that delusional self belief in yourself that you could get there. And as far as the comparisons are concerned, like when I look at a guy like Ronnie Five or Teddy from Ame or even to go to like the Sean Stussy's and the Nicky Diamonds and the guys from A Life and you know Streetwear Brand and stuff like that. Yeah, I catch myself thinking to myself, damn, I've been doing this for 10 years. Okay. Um, I'm not where I want to be as far as comparing myself to these people, but I try to flip the perspective and take it from an inspirational standpoint
mm,
because it's like, okay, if you could do it, I know that I could do it because you have to have that belief in your art now, whatever that is. You have to know that you're putting everything into your art, and at some point, the shit is gonna pop the way that it's supposed to. And I don't compare at war to other brands. I more so compare myself to other designers because our brands are just extensions of us at
mm,
the end of the day. It's not really like this standalone thing. Like, yes, of course, at war is separate from me. But now at the end of the day, as a creative, creatives, in my opinion, the good ones, the great ones, don't separate from their work because their work is who they are. It's an extension of them. And I look at it like it's just my life. I try not to compare. So like how could I compare myself to Ronnie Fieg when not for nothing, he had a head start. You know, his uncle owned David Z and is the
mm,
biggest footwear retailer in New York City. Like, I can't
right,
compare myself to you. I give you hats off to you. I take a lot of inspiration from you. What you do is damn near fucking impossible. I know how hard it is. I do it for one brand and you do it for a brand that's got 10 stores. Like it's on some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? I look at it as inspiration. I look at it like, okay. And then I also look at it like this. A lot of the guys in my field don't really pop until they're 35, 36, 37, 38 years old. I'm 29. Luckily, I've been doing this since I'm 20. I'm going to be 30 in July. I look at all these dudes, even like a guy like Greg Una, who's a jeweler in Manhattan, and they don't pop until they're like 35, 36 years old.
mm,
We didn't see, and also when they were 29, social media probably wasn't even that prevalent in the sense that it is now. It obviously was around, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And like we didn't see their losses. I'm sure they took losses. I'm sure they took, and they obviously took losses because it took them to be 35 years old to really get to the tip top of their fucking
right.
career. And like I look at it like that, and it kind of soothes me a little bit to know that we're all on our own path. We're all gonna do. The shit is gonna fall into place the way that it's supposed to. And for what some people don't want to hear, and it takes even for me, if it doesn't fall into place, it wasn't supposed to,
It wasn't
or
supposed
you didn't
to.
put the work in.
Mm,
You at the like, either one, you know what I'm saying?
right.
So I try just from the comparison standpoint, I really do my best to take inspiration from these people instead of comparing. Of course, I catch myself in the shit like, oh, I'm going to compare myself to X, Y, and Z, and they have all this shit, and I'm still here in this 2 bedroom apartment. I don't own a house, and I don't own property, and I don't do this and that because I put all my eggs into my brand, and yada yada yada. Which I'm sure these people did too, but they have no idea. But now podcasts are so prevalent, so I can tell my story, so now everybody knows, and it's just like we're more out in the open with our stuff, so it's more transparent, which I enjoy, and I'll never stop doing. But like these people weren't like that, so we don't even know what their struggle was. I'm sure they struggled. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So we're all gonna go through some shit. So that's really where I try to not even compare myself to any of these people because
Right. Yeah.
you can never be me and I can never be you. And that's a good thing on both sides of the spectrum. I don't want to be you and you don't want to be me. I would much rather be me than be Ronnie Fieg because I'm me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's where I start to like separate myself from a comparison standpoint, just because I'm building something that I want to build and I'm gonna get to you at some point the way that I'm gonna do it.
I hear you, man. No, that's a really good way to
You know?
think about it because like it's also that like you said, man, like you're 29, right? You all these guys that you talked about popped off really when they were 35, 36, mid 30s, right? It also
Yeah.
falls that that thing we live in, man, where it's the sense of urgency, like damn, we got to hurry up, as men we got to hurry up. Damn, we haven't gotten this and that by 30. We haven't achieved this. We haven't gone to where we want to be, but like in its time, man, like it's like you said, like
And that's hard. That's
it's
hard because the people around you are, or at least from our perspective, we're probably like people are looking at us like, "Yo, what are these? What is like?" You know what I'm saying? So like, it's hard for me sometimes because again, being around people that have their shit together. Not that I don't necessarily have my shit together, but I don't have my shit together the way other people have their shit together, and I always wonder what it looks like from the other perspective, and I try
right,
to separate myself from that because
but
again, I'm not you, you're not me. We went on two different routes, and as men, it's hard because we want to be high value men, pay bills, pay for our girls, pay for our mothers, pay for our family, pay for our friends, like, and it all comes back to the dollar amount, which I hate. I hate
it's
creating for revenue. I hate creating because it's going to sell. I hate creating because I have to take the dollar amount into consideration. And that's also where I start to realize why brands hire CEOs and creative directors. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to really be the CEO. The CEO has got to worry about all that other shit. Like if that war ever gets to the point where we're a multi-million dollar company, I'm sticking with the founder and the creative director role. I decide what's going to get made and how it's going to get made, but the CEO's got to worry about the bills and everything else. I don't want to have to worry about that shit. There's two different, and I learned that the hard way, and that's also why I tip my hat to Ronnie because Ronnie is the CEO and creative director of this brand that's probably worth 8 figures. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? So it's hard.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. How do you get back from how do you ground yourself, man, when you start getting into the mindset of dollar value and the dollar sign? That's what's pushing everything forward. Like how do you catch yourself when you're in that mind frame of okay, now I got to put things out for money. I got to put
Well,
things
when
out.
when we first started to see a little bit of money coming in, and I never heard a brand owner talk about this before, so that's the only reason why I'll drop like little numbers here and there, right? But I remember during COVID when I dropped my first pair of shorts that I kind of knew that they were going to do good because I had dropped like a small run of them prior to COVID, but they were like all fucked up. The sizing on them was a little fucked. It was like really, really, really small test run, but they all sold. So I knew coming into 2020, before we knew COVID was going to hit, that I was going to make these shorts and they were going to sell. And then COVID hit and it kind of pushed it away. But whatever, we did like 10K in a day. And it was the first time I had ever seen some money come in like that.
Mm,
And I'm like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. I just created something and sold it and made 5 figures in a day. I think this could be something that I do
mm,
um, as a career. And throughout that whole year, we did shorts and then we did other things and they sold it and yada, yada. And I had somebody tell me, yo, you got a little bit of money coming in now. Make sure you allot it the right way. 10K is not 10K because you got to pay. You don't know what the profit is on that. You got to pay X, Y, and Z, yada, yada. You got a little bit of money coming in now. Shut off your Shopify notifications. Because if I were to have a fucking day where we did 1,000 in a day and then the next day we did 100 in a day, what day you think was better for me mentally? Was the day
mm,
that I did 1,000 instead of the day I did 100? And I cannot live my life like that. It's not healthy, right? And there's the separation between my business is an extension of me, but also where is the separation between the two? Because I cannot risk my mental health. My mental health cannot be dependent on how much money I made today.
Mm.
Like we need the money, right? And I still struggle with that today. My Shopify notifications are off. I'll check it at the end of the day just to see how we did. And of course, in the middle of the day, I'm working. I'm on Shopify. I'm adding inventory. I'm on Instagram and I'm posting. And if I do catch to see what the sales are for the day, like it is what it is. If it's good, then it's great. And if it's not that good, then I try to separate myself from it and just look towards the next day because not every day is going to be the same day. But the short answer to that is that I shut off my Shopify notifications and I try to just focus on what I have control over and then let the rest kind of fall into place, which is hard because, again, a lot of people who own streetwear brands or a lot of people that just own brands on Instagram are probably they probably have something else that they do. I don't have anything else that I do. This is what I do.
Right.
Like I only sell clothes to pay my bills. You know what I'm saying? So like that's all that I'm putting out there. Maybe, and I know for a fact that a lot of other brand owners, it doesn't have to be streetwear. It could be selling anything, influencer or anything. They probably have a regular job that pays the bills, and they're just kind of like working on this influencer shit or this brand shit or podcast shit or whatever the case may be to kind of pay their bill, like just that cherry on top because everything else is kind of already paid for. Me, I put all my eggs in one basket, so it is really hard for me. My point is to separate between the dollar amount and how happy it makes me. But I'm doing my best
Because
with it. I'm not
it's your
perfect.
livelihood, man. I mean, this is it.
Yeah, bro. At the
You're
end
all,
of the day, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So
The one thing you talked about on the on that episode I sent you, man, where it was this is what got me emotional. It was the what's my funeral gonna be like, right? Like who's gonna be there, right? Am I even leaving a mark in this world when I leave? And that's something I've been thinking about. It's just I'm 28, so we're around the same age, and
yeah,
we're not old by any means. I'm not gonna sit here and say
no,
we're seeing the light or anything like that. But the people around us are getting older, right? Like our family,
yeah,
our
yeah,
even our friends are getting older, and they're you know having less time to hang out with you. And one of the things, I mean, it all ties back to just like what it is to be a man in this fucking world, man. It's just so much goddamn pressure that people don't see, and so much self-criticism that we put on
yeah.
ourselves. Like I literally I can see it on men's faces when I'm walking on the street or I'm at the gym, and I can really tell, man, the weight of the world's on their shoulders, like just in
Yeah,
their
they're dealing
body
with
language,
something.
in their face. They're
Yeah,
dealing with something, and I don't know this because I'm not them. I'm not in their head, but I can almost guarantee it's just the anxiety and the worry of how much are they producing? How much are they doing? What could they be doing more? It's an ongoing thing that never seems to break. And it's sickening to me.
hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
It's
It's
tough,
because
man.
our value as men is kind of determined on how much we produce, quote unquote, whatever that production is, whether it's money or whether it's whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Our value as men is based upon how much we make and how much we produce and how much we provide. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't enjoy that because I do. I'd rather be the provider than be provided for. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's rooted in us because we're men, but that's taking the weight on your shoulders and just trying to make sure other people are good before yourself. I've always been that person. I've always been. See, this is the thing about being, in my opinion, of being a boss and being a leader that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. The boss and the leader is not the most talented person of the group. The boss and the leader is not the one that's got the most skills. The boss and the leader is not the person that is the best from a grand scheme of things. The boss and the leader is the person that is able to take the best out of everybody else and is able to lead everybody else. And that's where I see myself. And then that person just becomes number one because he's able to, like, if I got a team of 5 or 6 people, this one's a better graphic designer than this one, but this one's got a better perspective in a photo shoot than the graphic designer does. And then this one is able to design product better than the graphic designer. The graphic designer is good at making art, but that person is good at placing the art, and that person is good at shooting the art. And then me as the creative director is the person that puts all of that together. I'm not the best at all those things. I'm just the best at being able to see who's the best and taking the best and then putting it into the pot and cooking it, taking all the ingredients and cooking it. And that You could translate that to anything. You could translate that to being with your girl. You could translate that to being with your friends. Translate that to anything. And that's where I see myself because I feel like I'm just like the kind of leader or the number one in a lot of the situations in my life. And that doesn't mean that I'm the best,
Mm,
but I start to draw back to your idea of like, what does my funeral look like? And I just want to make sure that I was able to leave an imprint on people the way that they leave an imprint on me. And it's kind of gloomy and grim to think about. But like at the end of the day, we're all going to die at some point and like I've thought about this since I was like a teenager. Like what is my funeral going to look like? Did I mean something to these people? Like how much did I mean to these people? Like who was fake? Who's coming there and pretending like they were a part of my life and who wasn't? And like it's just a lot that goes into that thought. It's a heavy thought. You could spiral and you could really go down a rabbit hole of
right.
thinking like what's going to
Yeah.
happen when I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot, but it's something that I'm sure a lot of men think of because we want to fucking we want to fucking be that person to people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's different. It's
And
different.
it's tougher now because it's so much more enhanced with social media and who you need to be, and you see all
Oh yeah.
these different creators and celebrities. I mean, fuck, man. Like it was. I feel like it was so much. It was easier back in like the '90s and '80s where people just couldn't reach you and couldn't see what other people were doing. Right? Like it was. It was more. It was more calm. It was more. It was more blissful back in the day, I feel, right? With
Yeah.
social media now, it's like I see a clip on TikTok and it's gotten, 10 million views, and I'm just like, damn, my clip doesn't have 10 million views, right? It's just
Oh yeah.
it's always these little like anecdotal fucking moments where I'm like, fuck, man, I got to get this going. I got to do this, I got to do that, but it all comes back to, it's easier said than done, obviously. It all comes back to why did I start this podcast? Why do I want to talk to people? Why am I doing it anyways, right? And sometimes I'm second guessing myself like, fuck, like am I even good at this, right? Am I even doing enough, right? And have you always been that guy though, man? Like, have you always been like go, go, go? Because I can sense it, I can sense that you're the type of guy that just, you don't take shit from no one. You do you. You're genuine. Did
Yeah.
you develop that? Do you
Yeah.
think you can develop that as a person, or is it something that's just inherent?
I don't think that that it's at least in my sense it was inherited because for a really long time I was too nice of a person and still to this day I'm probably still too nice in certain aspects. But having become the leader in my life and my team and just in general, I developed that where I remember I saw this quote one time, and I don't want to butcher it, but it's like I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than be a gardener in a war, right? So it's more like I want to be prepared for anything that life is going to come to me, right? And I don't want to be a nice guy. I want to be a good guy. And sometimes being a good guy means you need to be stern with your beliefs and stern with what you believe in and your morals. And that might come off as a little bit of abrasive because I'm so stern with what I want out of my life and what I want out of the people in my life. As long as I'm giving my 100%, and I expect you to also give your 100%. When maybe back in the day, before I was running a business, it was just more so I'm gonna give 100%. I'm gonna do what I have to do and be, this good worker per se, or a good friend, or a good boyfriend, or good son, or whatever the case may be. And if everything else like kind of falls into place, it falls into place. Now it's like, nah, I'm gonna make sure that everything around me is at least in the right. It's like putting the puzzle on the table in the right places, but like not pushing them together, just hoping that they would come push together themselves. Now I'm the person who's like, no, this is where that piece goes, push it together. Let's make this beautiful picture together. And if I got to be a little bit stern to get that shit done, then I'm going to get that shit done.
Is that
But
just
it's
through
also,
is that sorry to interrupt, bro, but is
yeah,
that just through years of pain and heartbreak and trauma that
yeah,
gets you to the point, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not on a flip of a dime where you switch
no,
like, okay, I'm gonna be stern now. It's just experience and just pain and heartbreak and all that fucking
yeah,
turmoil and shit. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Because you realize that like you're going to probably go through all that shit regardless in your life. So like I want to be happy in my life, being myself and being me and not being like this fake person to try to get people to like me or to get people to do what I want them to do or get their job done or whatever the case may be. That shit happens over the course of time. And yeah, again, I learned that. I really learned a lot of that in the restaurant business. And that's why, like, looking back on it, I feel a little bit guilty about when I was in the restaurant business, being a waiter or a bartender. I hated it in the moment, but I didn't realize that the life skills it was teaching me. It
Mm.
was teaching me in the moment, on the fly, how to problem solve, how to deal with people, how to deal with myself during traumatic, busy, chaotic times, and just like on the whim, just like fix stuff. You know what I'm saying? And you can't be nice about it. Like nobody is nice at 8 p.m. on a Saturday during rush when everybody's got five, six tables and everybody's ordering at the same time. Everybody's kind of in chaos mode. Everybody is just kind of like, move the fuck out of my way. I got to do X, Y, and Z. And it's not like in an angry sense. It's like, you move the fuck out of my way. I got to go get this table because it's going to make us money. You know what I'm saying? And I learned a lot of what I was able to translate to being a boss in my own business and even creatively
Mm.
from working in restaurants. That's why I think everything happens for a reason. That's why I think if there's people out there that maybe are working a job right now that they don't want to be in, learn whatever the fuck you can from it and try to take the most that you can. And I didn't have this mindset while I was working in the restaurant. This is all this is all fucking in retrospect, looking back on it. But in the moment, I didn't realize that shit. I didn't realize the skills that I developed during that time until I actually started to use them in my life now that has nothing to do with the restaurant.
Right.
That's why sometimes I crave it. That's why sometimes I'm not even going to lie to you. I've been thinking about walking across the street to the restaurant that I worked at in my neighborhood for 6 years and telling them, yo, I want to pick up one shift every Saturday. Nobody's got to know nothing about it. I'll never post about it. Nobody ever know nothing about it. But I want to hone my skills again. I want to hone my leadership skills again. I want to get on the floor with 4 or 5 waiters during a time where it's really super fucking busy because I want to be able to like get back into that mode. And I don't want nobody to know about it because at the end of the day, it's fucked up. But people will probably look at me on social media and see where I'm at and think that life is all fun and games. And like it is to a certain extent because I'm doing what I love for a living, even if some months are better than others. But like if somebody look at me in a restaurant, they'd probably be like, oh shit, what happened to him? And that's not the case. The case is actually I kind of want to hop in there and like sharpen my sword. You know what I mean? Because that's really where I learned a lot of the shit that we're talking about now
Here,
came from there. That's
yeah.
why I say I didn't inherit it. I don't. I say I wish that I had the mindset that I have now back in high school. I might have been a better athlete back in high school. I might not even be sitting here running a brand if I had this mindset now. I might because I didn't have that killer attitude back in high school. Not that I have the super killer attitude now. I just have we got to get this shit done mode now. Back
Mm.
then it was just kind of nonchalant. The restaurant business being so time focused. You got to get this out. You got to do this. You got to do that. And third, I wish that I could apply that back there, but now I'm applying it to something new. So that's why I say it's not. I personally didn't inherit it. I see people that were born that way. Maybe they were raised that way, like through their parents or whatever the case may be. It wasn't for me. I learned how to be that person, and I'm still learning there. I'm still not the best boss or the best leader. I let shit slide here or even with myself. That's the other thing. Being your own boss, you have nobody to listen to but you. So you have to yell at you. You have to make you go do what you're supposed to do.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have nobody hovering over you telling you what to do. There ain't no manager telling you, yo, go do this or go watch this or go do that. You got to tell yourself that. You got to have that self-discipline. And I didn't have that growing up. I had no reason to. I would coast it through life. I was mediocre. I was just coasting. You know
Right.
what I mean? Now I can't coast. If I coast, I'm gonna crash.
Mm.
Like I ain't gonna be paying attention and I'm coasting. Might drive off a cliff by accident. I have to be focused. I am driving the car, and there's 5 people in that motherfucker, and they are dependent on me just as much as I'm dependent on them. Sometimes they're telling me I'm about to miss a left and I got to make a left. Like I need that. You know what I mean? That's probably when I'm coasting and I'm not paying attention. So like it's also the people that you have around you, but I didn't inherit that. I had to learn that the hard way by almost crashing a few times.
With business and everything, you're dialed in. I can hear it. I know you are. With relationships, man, with friends, family, women, especially women, for God's sakes. There's so many things like, there's so many values and boundaries that, I can speak personally that I have for myself and what I want with, with a significant other. But a lot of times, man, like that shit just goes out the window. Not even with a woman, but even with friends, right? That's been a big theme of this podcast, setting boundaries and,
Mhm.
knowing when to say no to someone and knowing that, what you're doing, what you want to do is based on your own values and how how you want to go through life, and setting boundaries. And a lot of times, especially women, it just goes out the window, man. And it just boils down to just self-respect and just really it's because a lot of people, like, for me, man, like I know what I need to do, when I'm talking to someone, or I'm setting a boundary. I know that logically in my mind of minds that this is what I need to do for myself, but I just can't execute, because this
Yeah.
emotional thing that's that's not allowing me to do it. It's holding me back, right? Like, if I need to cut someone off, I know I should be doing it. They're not good for me. They're not providing me any sort of value. They're actually holding me back. But there's like this this war of pulling back and forth where I just can't cut it off, right? And do you know that fine line? Have you sensed it, and what is that? I mean, I know you're not a therapist or anything like that, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's just
yeah.
the fear
I
of.
mean, it's that war between your mind and your heart, right? That I have this. I struggle with this, pretty often. And I spoke about this on a pod. That's the next journey pod that comes out this week. It's like 2.5 hours long. We sat there and we ranted on a little bit of this topic. I've dealt with that. I've dealt with my heart loving somebody and my brain telling me, "Yo, listen, bro. Like, whether it's the timing or whether whatever the case may be, this shit is just not good for you," and me not really being able to like cut it off because of how I felt. And I started to develop this sense of this, right? I'm going to be 29 years, I'm going to be 30 years old. I feel like as men, we have to have non-negotiables when it comes to women.
Hmm.
I have 5 non-negotiables. I saw Russell Wilson talk about this on a pod, on the Pivot not too long ago. You have to have 5 non-negotiables, and those are the boundaries. If it's going to be something that's serious, now where I'm at in my life, I'm not really into the casual flings no more. So I don't really need to do none of that shit. It's not really for me. I'm not a good single person. At some point, I want to get married and have kids, and whether it's with an ex or it's with a new person, or whatever the case may be, I have 5 non-negotiables, and that's kind of what keeps me and my boundaries prevalent, right? Like, number one, she has to she has to believe in something. Like, I'm Christian, right? So she has to have some sort of faith. It doesn't need to be the same faith as me, but she needs to believe in something,
Hmm.
right? She needs to have that basis where she has faith in something, whatever the case may be. That's number one. Number two, she has to have her own motion. She has to have her own life outside of me. We have to be able to, we can come together. I have my own motion, you have your own motion, and then we come together and then we rock the boat and we walk into a fucking room, and you could feel our energy. I need, and that's number three. Number three is when we get together, we need to be felt. Okay. Because I know when I walk into a room where I'm from, people are gonna feel me. I need you to add to that, and I also need to you walk into a room on your own, and people need to be able to feel you. And that's really where those three, the top ones, are really where if that's not the case, and that might take a little bit of time, also a bit of true part to that, to see, because you got to see if you connect, you got to see if you have motion, you have to kind of get to the point, and where women are onions, and they have these layers, and you got to get to the layer where she's comfortable enough to like tell you about whatever she believes in her faith, or you have to be able to go to enough places together to see if you guys have that motion together, or see if you guys connect, and you have to have those one-on-one times to see if you guys connect. But those are where my boundaries are. And if I don't feel that over the course of time, it's clipped. It's
It's
it's just
clipped,
clipped.
huh?
My
And
brain, my brain knows, my brain knows that this shit is not like, even if you're a good-looking girl and like sexually and physically we're compatible and like it was fun for a couple months. If those other things aren't there, there's no scalability for me here. Like, and then the other two non-negotiables that I have, I kind of get a lot of slack for them because they're the only ones that are physical. But like, I'm a dark feature kind of guy. I like dark hair, I like dark fucking, and I like dark eyes. So like, if you don't have that, I'm not saying that that's like, I'm gonna tell you no. Because if you have those other three things, then maybe I'll be able to like not really, I could overlook that. You know what I'm saying? But like, those things are what's gonna bring me
and
to you
there's
first. That's
nothing
what I'm
wrong with having those
You
expectations.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But I know a lot of
like
women
it's not.
look at that shit and they're like, "Oh, but I got blue eyes and blonde hair, and you're gonna tell me you're gonna like, you know what I'm saying, look past me?" Nah, I'm not gonna look past you, but it's not. I'm not gonna look towards you right
Right.
away. If
Yeah.
you come to me and it works out, then yeah, of course, I'm not gonna push you away. I'm not superficial like that. I'm not
Mm.
gonna just fuck tell you you got blue eyes, get the fuck away from me. You know what I'm saying? But those first three are the ones that are really like over the course of time are what's going to be able to scale me and you together. So the point is not to run blonde, is like my boundaries. Those are where my boundaries come from.
Right.
Like, my boundaries have to come from there. And it's hard for me because I've loved people that I probably shouldn't have before. but I did. And my brain was telling me one thing, but my heart was telling me another. And I'm somebody that wears my heart on my sleeve. And I'm like, well, my heart is telling me this for some reason, right? So I'm gonna try to run with this and rock with it and see what happens. And then maybe the timing was off on that person, or the timing was off on me. Like not the timing is not always right all over the place. You know what I mean? But those I try to like base my boundaries off shit like that, especially when it comes to like actual partners. Because again, I'm kind of over the casual
And
shit.
you can feel it deep down, yo. Like you can feel it where it's something's off, where there's a bit of smoke, where there's fire, right? It's just something. There's high alert. As soon as you get into it, it's like something's off, and you can't really put you can't really put a fucking label on it.
You can't put your mind, yeah. And if you bring it up, you kind of seem like a little crazy because you can't pinpoint it, but I can feel energy, bro. Like I can feel like I've been with, and it also goes like on the opposite end of that because you could be with somebody and feel the energy is off, and you can't really explain it to nobody. But you could also be with somebody and and the energy is on fire, right? But you can't really explain it, at least not to like people. Like if she feels it and you feel it, then you don't need to explain it to nobody else. Like if you're just sitting down talking to your friends and they're like, "Yo, what do you see in this person?"
Yeah,
And I'm
straight
just,
up,
"Yo,
straight up.
I don't know.
I don't know,
I don't
man.
know,
I don't know.
but it's here. I can't explain it to you. I'm not trying to, but I feel it, bro. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? So there's a slippery slope there, bro. It's really right now where I'm at in my life. I'm just trying to focus on business and let all the other shit kind of just like
Bro,
fall into place. I've
you
been with great
really
women that
and
I should have been with, and I've been with bad women that didn't deserve it, and they weren't necessarily bad. The timing was off or some shit like that, and I'm
just
just trying to really just dial in and focus on me.
right. And man, like those three non-negotiables that you talked about, you're really standing on business with those where it don't matter who you are. It could be Kim K. If
Yeah,
those three
yeah.
non-negotiables are not there, you will can that shit. It don't matter who you are. Man,
Because
that's it.
bro, listen, part of me is my perspective, like, and I'm talking about people's perspective of me. Like, I need to be able to walk into a room with my girl, and people are like, "Oh, like John and Shorty are here, or vice versa. Or I want my girl to be able to walk into a room and she has this aura about her, right? And she also needs to be faithful to me. Like she has this aura. She's the fucking sun, and she's attracting fucking people. She's attracting light, but like she's only got eyes for me type. You know what I'm saying? Like I need that. I don't want the shorty that doesn't have the eyes on her. I don't want the shorty that doesn't have the energy. I don't want none of that. I want the eyes to be on you, but I want your
But
eyes to only be on me because that's what it's like with me. Not saying that like only where I'm from, popular where I'm from. I grew up in a bunch of different neighborhoods in this borough of Brooklyn that I'm from, so I'm kind of like dialed in here. So when I go somewhere, I get recognized. Like,
you're
yo, what's
him.
up with
You're
this?
that dude. People know you.
You know what I'm saying? Just from where I'm from, you know what I mean? And like if that's the case, but I'm also with somebody, like all the eyes could be on me, but all my eyes are only on you. And I'm gonna make sure you know that too. I'm gonna make sure you're confident and secure in the fact that, like, even though everybody's looking at me and whatever the case may be, my eyes are only on you. But I need that reverse at the end of the day. I don't want the shorty that's like low key, that's flying under the radar. I want you on the same. I want us to be on the same motherfucking spectrum, and we'll both just have eyes on
Mhm.
each other, while everybody else has eyes on us. Because I know that we could capitalize on shit like that, especially in the field that I'm in, from a podcast or from a fashion standpoint. I want people to look at me like that. I need people to look at me like that.
It's
You know
part
what
of
I
the
mean? In
brand.
order for
I
me
mean, at
to
the end of the day, it's
scale
all
this.
part of the brand. You know what I'm saying, man? Like,
Yeah, bro. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, man. I mean, we could get into like the nitty gritty of all that, man. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, man. Fuck, Alex is. We gotta
Nah,
cut this shit short because
we could do part two, bro. Yo,
I'm
I had a
down,
great
man.
conversation
I
with you.
mean,
We
I got
definitely do a part two.
100% because man, I can get into the depths of just especially with women and relationships, man. I
Yeah,
mean, don't even
100%. We
get me
could definitely do
started
that.
on that shit. But man, I
Let's do it.
appreciate you, man. I
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, bro. It meant a lot for you to even reach out. I love to do stuff like this. We could definitely do. We'll text back and forth. Maybe next weekend. I don't know what the because I do have to travel over maybe like in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I think over maybe like next 14 days I should be here. So if we could get something together, I'll do a part two with you whenever you got time.
I appreciate it, man. I really do because
Yeah,
yeah, man, you're a very inspiring guy, man. Like just even the way you
a lot,
talk and
bro. For
the
real.
way you present yourself and your tone and everything, man. It's you're dialed in 100%. And
Thank
I'm
I appreciate it. You too,
I'm
man. For real, keep going.
I appreciate it,
Um,
man. I mean, fuck, I'm already. Here's the thing, man. I'm already anxious about this episode because I'm gonna be thinking back on it, like, damn, how did I do? Was I at the? Did I match that energy that you brought in, right?
Yeah, no, you're great, bro. No, you're great. You're great. Being a good host, because yo, this is also the thing. And I know we got to go, but I was on the journey as a guest twice, and then they brought me on as a co-host. And to be a co-host and be a guest, two completely different ball games. And you're a great host. You're a great host, and at some point, I'd like to bring you on mine where we could flip the script, and I could lead and let you fucking not lead. I could spark and just let you kind of run with what you got, because I feel like you do have a lot to say, but like being the host, you kind of got to guide the conversation and then let the other person kind of just like kind of do his thing. But I would love to see you on the opposite end of it, where I'm asking you questions. And we could even do that on here if that's something that you.
No, 100%. Man. Down to that. That would mean a lot, man.
Kind of get into. We can let people kind of like get into you instead of like getting into me. Like we got into me on this one, and we can get into me a little bit on part two. But I would rather, maybe come with 5 questions to talk to you about, because I feel like you got a lot to say and you got a lot going on.
100%, man. No, I would love to. Yeah, you just let it all go. Let the floodgates wide open. Get it going. 100% means a lot, dude. Means a lot. And I'll let you go. I'll text you. I'm gonna have the clips up fairly soon.
Sure. All right, cool.
We'll keep in touch, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Later.
Peace.
Peace.